I'm excited.
All right, as we did before, we'll begin with a 1-minute introduction from both candidates, and we'd like you to answer the question, why are you running for office?
I'm Marilyn Connolly, for those of you that don't know me. Most of you should. We've probably run into each other somewhere. I'm running for House District 40 because it deserves a strong and proven leader like myself that looks after the communities and the people. I've been a Republican for 20 years, I don't know, however, since I registered when I was 18 years old. I've been a precinct committee woman for over 20 years, or 21 or however, but I've been a precinct committee woman for at least that long. I was a state committee woman for a number of years, and I respect the Republican Party. Also running because I have the experience of a county commissioner, and I've worked with a lot of different agencies, fire, EMS.
You can finish your thought if you'd like. Okay, so 1 minute, Mr. Mark Jones.
Thank you, David. Thank everyone to come out tonight. My name is Mark Jones, and I'm running because I retired as a big game and small game biologist and plan to spend all my time hunting and fishing, and I took a job with an organization advocating for Second Amendment rights, and I started going to Cheyenne every year. 5 years of going to the Cheyenne legislature to advocate for our Second Amendment rights, I realized that we're actually losing this state. This is the most conservative state in the country, but it's not reflected in our elected officials that across the board. And I don't want this state to turn into Colorado, okay? That's why I'm running to represent the great people of House District 40. My young son's here today with me, my daughter's over at Walmart, and I want this state to be the last free, best place in America.
Okay, thank you. So our first topic for this segment, here we go. Wyoming citizens should vote on the establishment of nuclear disposal sites in Wyoming, and we'll begin 3 minutes with Marilyn Connolly.
Thank you. That's been a big topic for us in Wyoming, and I feel like Wyoming is going into a new era, something that we've never experienced before. I think we do have to keep Wyoming the last best place, but we do that by using our knowledge and our history of what our forefathers in this state and House District 40 did for us. I'm not sure they were prepared for nuclear energy or data centers or any of the issues really that we're dealing with today. So with that said, I don't believe that we should be storing nuclear fuel in Wyoming. I think Wyoming's uranium would benefit from the nuclear energy, and we just need to look into the future. We cannot, if I could have my way, I'd keep Wyoming the way it is right now, or maybe 15 years ago, but we can't. We've got to look at moving into the future. Whether we like it or not, it's here, it's coming, and so we need to make sure that our local people have the information that they need to make good decisions. And I wouldn't vote to support nuclear spent fuel here at all right now. Maybe some nuclear micro reactors to benefit our uranium business, but as far as the other, no way. I think, but we will not be we're not going to be the dumping ground for nuclear energy. Even though our president is really pushing to look at nuclear energy and the data thing. So, no, I'm done.
3 minutes, Mark Jones.
Okay, current Wyoming law does not allow the state of Wyoming to store nuclear fuel not generated in the state of Wyoming. That's the current law. And I would definitely oppose changing that. And the United States does not have a a federal depository for nuclear waste. There was going to be one in Nevada, and the people there came out very strongly against it, and it didn't happen. So there is not a federal repository for nuclear waste. So this is an issue that we have to be very careful with, and many of you are aware of the Bar None proposal and the micro reactors in Bar None, and the people there came out 90% opposed to it. A lot of people have complained about that and said it was people were opposing economic development and things like that, but the people didn't want it. And I agree with my opponent that we need to be very careful about letting this happen in the state of Wyoming. The actual question was, should the people of Wyoming vote on it? And I would oppose the storage of this stuff as a legislator, but that wasn't the question. If it got to the point where that a vote was forced, yeah, the people could make a final decision. But I'm going to oppose this type of stuff. I'm going to oppose efforts to change Wyoming's law that exists now that prohibits us from storing nuclear waste generated outside the state. And I'm going to be very careful not to let Wyoming become the nuclear dumping ground for the rest of the country. Nevada didn't want it. We don't want it in Wyoming. So that's my stance on nuclear waste.
2 minutes, Marilyn Connolly.
I think when we're talking about the nuclear energy issue as well, we still have to look at some of our Republican Party planks. Private rights. Own your own land, and what you do with your own land is up to you. And so I think we have to be careful about infringing on people's abilities. If they want to work with a company and have businesses come in and be on and use their property for it, I'm a little nervous about telling them no, because I think private property rights is a big issue for us. And I don't have a whole lot more to say about it. It is what it is, and I'm sticking to my guns about it, and I don't have anything else to say.
3 minutes, Mark Jones.
Yes, well, there's probably no bigger proponent of private property rights than me, to a point. And when a private property owner runs the risk of impacting tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of other people, then this, obviously in the United States, we have a history of the government stepping in certain situations, right? This waste has to be transported on public roads. It has to be moved. So I think the idea that it's a private property rights issue is a little sketchy. If someone has a 5,000-acre ranch and they want to put nuclear waste on it, that impacts people all over the region. Okay, all the neighbors, all the transportation up and down our interstates. So I don't think this is exactly a private property rights issue. I think this is an issue where you can be strongly a proponent of private property rights, but also we have to have responsible government that looks out for the citizens of the state. And from what I've heard, most of the citizens of Wyoming don't want this stuff. And it's probably an 80-20, 90-10 issue. It's not even close. So I'm gonna say the private property rights issue probably doesn't apply in this situation, and we need responsible management of this issue. We certainly do not need to change Wyoming's law that prohibits it from coming in out of state. That is current statute and needs to stay that way. And we need to be very careful. We're the lowest populated state, and I'm sure there's a lot of billionaires around the country looking at Wyoming after what happened in Nevada when their plan fell through and saying, boy, Wyoming will be a good place to put this stuff. We don't want to be the country's nuclear waste dump.
1 minute, Marilyn Connolly.
No, we don't want to be the waste dump. And I don't know too many landowners currently that think having storage of nuclear fuel waste is a good idea. What I'm talking about is if there's a microreactor or another type of nuclear business that might come in and a private landowner wants to look at that, they should have the ability to do it. But we do have zoning laws and things like that in the counties, and the locals and the commissioners and the cities need to be involved.
Okay, thank you both. Our second topic for the House District 40 race is, oh boy, Wyoming should expand Medicaid. And we'll begin with 3 minutes, Mark Jones.
Oh boy. Well, this has been an issue that has come up, I think, year after year in the Wyoming legislature, and it has not been expanded, and I would support that position. It's obviously an emotional issue for some people, but the government, is not the nanny of the people. The government does have certain responsibilities, and but when you expand Medicaid, you go into a whole other realm that leads us towards socialism, and we've seen that in other states. Wyoming has resisted that, and I think rightly so.
3 minutes, Marilyn Connolly.
Yeah, I think looking at expanding Medicaid probably isn't something that a lot of people in Wyoming would be pleased with. I do think there isn't a problem with, and I supported this in the legislature, to increase the Medicaid rate that our EMS and our nursing homes and our hospitals can receive to help supplement, because we have so many Medicaid, Medicare type folks using our facilities that if we don't look at a rate increase for the Medicaid without expanding it, we're going to be looking at hurting some of our hospitals and our rural health issues. I wouldn't be in favor of expanding Medicaid, but increasing the rate.
2 minutes, Mark Jones.
Well, I think I've already made my position really clear on Medicaid. So I'm going to pivot back to the nuclear issue. I believe there was a resolution to let the people vote on this in the Wyoming legislature, and I'm pretty sure my opponent voted against that. So I'll throw that out there for consideration.
3 minutes, Marilyn Connolly.
Yeah, we got to remember that this last session was a budget session, and our whole goal as legislators down there was to deal with the budget. And I voted against several bills for introduction. Doesn't mean that I'm opposed to the issue. It means I voted against it being introduced at this time. I know there's more work to do on it, and I think it would, if the people want to vote on it, I'm all about the people having the right to vote and make those decisions. But that's why I voted against it on introduction, is because I knew it was going to take a lot of debate, and I wanted to use that time to debate the budget. And as it was, we ended up with 120 amendments to our budget. So that's why.
One minute, Mark Jones.
I hear that used, that it's a budget session as a reason not to vote for a lot of good bills. We've passed some of the best Second Amendment legislation in Wyoming during budget sessions. We also passed a bill to protect kids from groomers during this last budget session that Ms. Connolly voted against. And we also passed a bill to stop Wyoming from recognizing driver's licenses issued to illegal aliens in other states during a budget session. So I hear that used way too often to justify not doing the right thing. There's plenty of great legislation that passes during a budget session, every budget session that exists in the Wyoming legislature.
Okay, thank you. So for our final topic for this House District 40 race, and get one from the bottom here. The topic is, election candidate eligibility should mirror the residency requirements of other state agencies, and we'll begin for 3 minutes with Marilyn Connolly.
Well, I'm not sure where you're going with that, but I would like to pivot. All right? Because I'm not going to take this. House Bill 116, driver's license for illegal aliens. I am absolutely opposed. I did vote for that bill. I voted for it on concurrence, and I did it because it needed to go to the Senate. There was some work that needed to be done on that bill. It went to the Senate, it got improved, it came back to the House, and I voted in favor of that bill on concurrence. Grooming. I'm not the kind of person that would vote against grooming of children. And I can tell you unequivocally, I absolutely supported the grooming bill on third reading. And it's absolutely obvious on my record. So there, with that said, there's quite a few of those that I've been challenged about my record, and I'm perfectly clear on it. Now back to the election bill. Would you repeat that question?
Certainly. Election candidate eligibility should mirror the residency requirements of other state agencies.
Well, for candidates and mirroring other agencies to elect candidates, I'm still kind of lost on what you're trying to get at. I think we need to have good election laws for our candidates. And as far as mirroring other agencies, I'm not sure what agencies you mean, so I'm having a little difficulty answering that at the moment. I'll let my opponent take a try.
3 minutes, Mark Jones.
Well, I like to deviate from the script. House Bill 116, Ms. Connolly voted against it on third reading. There would have never been a concurrence had that bill not passed third House reading. So it was an attempt to kill the bill. That's always an excuse you hear from left-leaning politicians when they vote against something that's popular and it's called out, is that, well, it wasn't good enough, but I voted for it later. It kind of reminds me of John Kerry when he ran for president in 2004. He said, I voted for the bill before I voted against it. Many of you will remember that. The grooming bill would have never made introduction and even got on the floor if Ms. Connolly had had her way. There was also the library bill that took very sexually explicit materials, stuff that's so bad it would get you banned from the internet, that moved it from the children's section of the library to the adult section. It didn't take it out of the library. It wasn't a book ban. It was just moving it to the adult section so parents could make a decision whether or not their children saw that. Ms. Connolly voted against that bill too. So Ms. Connolly's a nice lady, and I know she thinks I'm attacking her, and at a forum at the American Legion last week, I was accused of being mean, but I'm just talking about her voting record. We have two different philosophies. One is a more left-leaning, left Republican philosophy, and one is a constitutionally conservative platform Republican philosophy, and that's mine. So, and I'm here to just point out the facts and explain where I stand. You know, I stand against criminals and illegal aliens. I stand for our constitutional rights. We haven't had time to talk about taxes and all the waste, fraud, and abuse. And our budget's increased 47%. Our expenditures in Wyoming have gone up 47% in 6 years. How many of you got a 47% raise in the last 6 years? So I'm a fiscal conservative, and there's a stark contrast here. If you like the left-leaning Republican Democrat ideas, you should vote for Ms. Connolly. If you like the Republican Party platform, conservative, constitutionally conservative ideas, you should consider me.
Two minutes, Marilyn Connolly.
Thank you. I was hoping you'd say something about the election question so I could figure that out. But you're insisting on, going after me because I'm not a good enough Republican. I don't get it. That's a real easy cop-out. I've worked in this community in my district for as long as I've been born around here. And as far as the explicit material in the library, I did not vote for that bill. And I didn't vote for that bill because I had so many constituents in my district ask me not to vote for that bill. So I'm not the kind of person, I don't want grooming for children. I don't want sexually explicit material in the kindergarten through third grade up through 18 years old in our library. But what I do want is I want to recognize our parents' responsibility with the kids. And I visited long and hard and many times with our library board and our commissioners and school boards. And I think this is a local control issue. And I really, truly believe that if we have a book like that in our library, which we don't in ours, we can do the challenge process that's already out there. If we don't get satisfaction, we can go to the county commissioners because it's funded that way, or the school board. And I'm pretty sure that there's enough people in our communities that if a book like that was going to show up, we could make sure it got relocated. So there you go.
3 minutes, Mark Jones.
Well, since Ms. Connolly brought up local control, I'll address local control. The left has tried to make local control like a holy mantra in Wyoming. If you kind of follow Wyoming politics and listen to the rhetoric, it's presented as if it's always wonderful and always great. And local control can be a really good thing. It can be. School boards, county commissioners, they certainly have very important roles. But local control is often used to justify doing the wrong thing. And I'll give you some examples. The first time we passed repeal gun-free zones, now that passed the governor vetoed it the first year. Now it was subsequently passed again and became law, but the first time the governor vetoed repeal gun-free zones, he said it overrode historical norms of local control. And my response to that was there is no local control of constitutional rights. Local control of constitutional rights gave us COVID-era restrictions where they shut down your business and allowed your business to stay open, where Lowe's could stay open but not a mom-and-pop hardware store. That was local control of constitutional rights. Local control of constitutional rights gave us Jim Crow voting laws in the South in the 1960s. In some counties, black people could vote. In other counties, they couldn't. So local control is not a holy mantra. And I wish everybody in Wyoming would understand that. There are times the legislature has to step in and do the right thing. There is no local control of our constitutional rights, folks. There is no local control. So let's keep that in mind as we go through this campaign season and listen to the left wing of the Republican Party talk about the holy mantra of local control. I'm all for local control when the school boards are doing their jobs and helping kids and helping teachers. When commissioners are doing their jobs, I'm all for that kind of stuff. But it's not a holy mantra. And as far as parental rights, it's interesting that she used that in her statement. She voted against the parental rights bill, House Bill 200, on third House reading that passed the Wyoming House. So again, Ms. Connolly's a really nice lady, but you know, we're not voting for prom king and prom queen here. We're voting for people who will go represent the values of the people of House District 40. And I really feel like that we should, this is a Republican primary too, where we claim we care about the planks of the Republican Party platform. And I stand for those, for the constitutional rights of our citizens, for fiscal responsibility, for limited government. Thank you.
One minute, Marilyn Connolly.
I stand for those too, and I really resent being called a leftist Democrat. Seriously. I am fiscally responsible. I don't like any more government than we absolutely have to have. And I will say that on the parental rights bill, I did not support that bill. I thought it was poorly written. I didn't think it was going to be able to be implemented and be practical. Parents, not government, are the primary decision makers for their children. Schools should educate, not make significant social and moral decisions without parental knowledge. Public schools should remain politically neutral and contested, shouldn't be messing in social issues. Government should not be compelled to make speech and different ideological issues in the classroom. And the bills add is mandatory where professional judgment and local policies often already address the issues. So no, I'm all about parental rights.
All right. That concludes this section of the House District 40 race. No, she gets the last speech if she speaks first. Okay, so that concludes the House District 40 race. Why don't you give them another round of applause while we're at it?